The MP for Ashfield, Lee Anderson, has lost the party whip. Why is that?
Well, what I said is that the comments he made were wrong, they were unacceptable, they were ill-judged, and particularly at a time when I want to see some of the heat come out of this debate, I believe the right thing to do was, because of the comments that he made, to remove the whip from him.
Were they Islamophobic, those comments?
Well, as I said, they were wrong, they were ill-judged, they were unacceptable, and that's why the whip was removed. I think it's incumbent on everybody, but particularly politicians, to be careful with the words that they use.
But you don't believe those words were Islamophobic or racist?
I said I don't believe Lee is a racist person or an Islamophobic person, but the comments were wrong. They were unacceptable, they were ill-judged, and that's why it was right to suspend the whip. And everyone needs to be careful with the language that they use.
Then what exactly was wrong about them?
As I said, they were wrong.
But why?
Well, as I said, it's important that everybody is careful with the words they use, particularly at a time when tensions are already running high.
Prime Minister, let me put it to you this way. If Sadiq Khan was not a Muslim, do you think that Lee Anderson would have made those comments?
If I could just finish answering the question. As I said, it's a time when tensions are already running high, and I think it's incumbent on everybody, but particularly politicians, to be careful with the words that they choose so that they don't unnecessarily inflame the situation.
You say you want to take the heat out of the situation.
That's why.
Don't you think it would take the heat out of the situation if, as the Prime Minister of this country, you condemned Islamophobia as Islamophobia?
Well, I've been very clear. All forms of racism and prejudice are completely unacceptable and should be stamped out wherever we see them. Of course I believe that, and I've been very clear about that.
Can you see why not calling this Islamophobia would be disappointing to communities when hate crimes towards Muslims are soaring?
Yeah, and that's why actually several months ago I visited with an organisation called Tal Mama that deals with these issues and actually provides support to people. And
okay,
it's awful
if Lee Anderson does apologise, will you welcome him back?
If I could just answer your previous question, because it's important so people understand what we are doing to support Muslim communities. I said all forms of prejudice and racism are unacceptable. We've been supporting Tell Mama with extra funding, actually, so they can continue providing support to people who are impacted by this. And we've also increased last year, doubling the financial grant that we provide for protective security of mosques and other religious institutions.
Prime Minister, if Lee Anderson does apologise, will you welcome him back to the party?
Which will ensure that we are doing something to combat, as I said, racism and prejudice in all forms.
Will you welcome Lee Anderson back to the party?
I think Lee Anderson's just made some comments that I believe were wrong, they were unacceptable, they were ill-judged, and that's why he's had the whip suspended from him.
Okay, let's move on to transport now. What's new about today's announcement?
What we are doing is providing an unprecedented amount of long-term funding to local communities across the North and Midlands as a result of the decision that we took on HS2. We're going to reallocate that money to local areas for them to spend on their priorities on a scale which has never happened before. Long-term funding, and for the first time, treating smaller towns, rural areas like the big city regions get treated, and that's going to mean a step change in the investment going into local transport across the region.
We've known about this funding since you scrapped HS2 in October, haven't we?
We've known about the principle of it, but what we are doing today is announcing how much every area individually is going to get, and people can really see the scale of the increase.
On the 5th of October last year.
And now we can work with local authorities to put the plans in place so that from next year they can deliver projects.
Just to pick up on what was announced last year, Prime Minister, on the 5th of October, on the government website, you announced a £2.5 billion fund for local transport in the north, £2.2 billion for the Midlands. All that's happened in those 5 years is that that's been divvied up to local authorities. Why has it taken so long?
Because it's important that we worked with local authorities on an appropriate way to split that money up, and it's being done based on both population and levelling up need for areas. And what it represents for all these areas across the North and Midlands is, as I said, a step change in the local funding that they will receive to invest on their priorities, not direct it from Whitehall.
Now that funding won't be available until April next year. What if you're no longer Prime Minister at that point?
Well, as I said, it's important that we take the time with local areas to work on plans so these projects are deliverable, because it's a considerable uplift in what they've delivered previously. And as I said, yes, we will have an election later this year, and the choice of that election will be clear. We've got a plan that we're working towards that is delivering real change to people, whether that's with local transport. If I could just answer your question, please. With local transport, this is a clear plan that people can and see, okay, we made a decision on HS2 and instead we're going to invest these billions of pounds in local areas.
But they won't see those changes until
well, that's our plan.
Well,
that's our plan, and if people like that plan and they want the investment in their local buses, in their local road and rail, we've already started delivering. We've capped bus fares at £2. We've provided more money for local road maintenance and potholes out of the HS2 money. That's the priority that I think the British people have. That's the plan that we're working towards. And more broadly at that election, that will be the choice. Stick with the plan that's starting to deliver real progress, whether it's on transport or indeed on the economy, where we are now able to cut taxes because inflation has come down, mortgage rates have come down, and if we stick with that plan, we can deliver a brighter future for everyone, peace of mind that things will be better.
Prime Minister, it's 40 years since the miners' strikes. Will you quash the convictions of miners who were convicted in the strikes of 1984 to 5?
So that's not something that I'm familiar with the detail of.
Okay, thank you.